So, good evening and a very, very big hello to everybody. My name is Rosy Bansal and I'm the founder of the Synapses Studio. I take honor in welcoming everybody here to an enthralling and eye opening session on cybersecurity called The You in Security, where we will talk about your role. What is the role that you play in ensuring the safety of your information? So, has your social media account ever been hacked? Mine has. I think a very, very long time ago when I had a couple of my relatives calling me up and saying that, why have you sent this weird stuff to us? And I'm like, I haven't sent anything to you. So, the kind of embarrassment I had to go through at that time was devastating. All that I could just tell them is, you know what, please ignore it and delete it. I haven't sent anything. I think my account has been hacked. And this is all that I could do because I didn't really know much about information security. Have you ever received a huge credit card bill for, say, the expenses that you've never made? Have you been cyber stalked? That sounds a little scary. Did you know that a lot of these online games that we play, they have a huge potential security threat? I know of people who played Ludo online, so right now you have a lot of Ludo and Tambola and all of that going on. So I know of people who've played Ludo and their account has been hacked, their Facebook has been hacked, right? So please be very, very cautious. In these new normal times, people have started realizing the value of information security. And it's very scary to think how easy it is for a hacker to get into your system, or rather to get into your life. We have with us today our guest Siddharth Iyer, who is an information security expert with more than a decade of experience in managing risk, audits, and compliance. Apart from these, his proficiency lies in BCP, information security, which is ISO 27001, ISO 9000, and ISO 17025 ITTL. He's also an ISO 27001 2013 lead auditor. So, a very, very warm welcome to you, Siddharth.
Thank you, Rosie, for this opportunity to be a part of the session. It's a pleasure to be a part of your session today.
Thank you. So, Siddharth, a very, very simple question from my side. But I'm sure the answer to these, few questions that I'm going to ask you are going to be very complicated, okay? So some questions that we would like Siddharth to enlighten us with are, one, how do we know that our system has been hacked? Two, how do we stay safe from the perils that it brings forth to our lives? And three, last but not least, how does the brain of a hacker really work? We're really very, very keen to understand all of these things, and if you could please enlighten us. So the stage is all yours now, Siddharth.
Sure. So, good questions, all of them. Let me start off with the U in security as the session itself. Very important thing is hackers are just people like you and me with specialized skills and technical skills, but they don't use their technical skills always to hack into your account. Uh, Answers to very difficult questions are very simple most of the times, and the answer to your question is also simple. It's basic hygiene that every individual has to follow in the digital realm. This is a realm which you cannot really touch and feel, but you know that there is a entire world out there in the digital space. Okay. Now let me start off with an example of your own house. How do you protect your house? You have doors, windows, safety doors, and a lot of other things that you've put in so that people cannot enter. Because you can see if it is open, people can enter. Now, with this digital space, you are not very clear. The entire differentiation between the what is true and what is not true is very hazy or blurred. So, uh, First or most important thing is that you have to have a door to your house so that nobody comes in. In a similar manner, you need to ensure that you have an antivirus, a licensed antivirus or a paid antivirus installed in your systems, which could be your phones or your laptops or any other devices that you might have. And these systems or these antivirus systems are not very expensive. It's about 1,000 to 2,000 K for the license. And a lot of us, I would say about 80 to 90% of our Indian population does not believe in paying for us this antivirus because we do not find any return on investment on something which is not really visible,
Yeah,
right?
true, true.
We are very tangible kind of people. People only put our money where you can touch and feel and use it, right? Now that things have changed with this COVID situation, now I think is the right time to invest in a right antivirus because everything nowadays is going into the digital space and a lot of information gets leaked because of that. And these antiviruses today are advanced antiviruses which can protect you from things like ransomware, malware, all the latest threats that you can see apart from the traditional viruses, right?
Okay,
So first thing that you want to have is an antivirus and a
okay,
paid one and not
okay.
a free one because free one is like your mall wala security guard who really does not, he does just his activity of just scanning your
Yeah.
body through that metal detector, but he does not really check you properly. So that's similar to a free virus, okay? And a paid virus is very similar to your airport security. Right? They will check you in detail, right? So that's the first thing or a first suggestion that you need to have. Second is all your systems have to have updated versions of the softwares and OS running on them.
Okay.
Now, what happens with that is whenever there is a vulnerability, the OS manufacturer or the application manufacturer releases patches on a regular basis.
Okay.
Okay, and that will ensure that you're protected against those latest threats.
All
Now,
right.
if I have to give you an example, if you have a door, a metal door, which is a solid door, but if it is exposed to the elements, water and everything, it will get eroded or it will eventually rust out, and it will not be as effective or strong as it was initially when it was made. Right. Similar is the aspect uh, of an antivirus as well. If it is not patched regularly, it is as good as not knowing the latest threats.
Okay.
Right. It becomes weak.
Okay.
So you need to ensure that OS as well as AV and all the applications that you have in your phones are updated. Phones and laptops are updated. All right.
Okay.
Third thing that I would want to specify is on the backup data backup. So whatever data you have with today's ransomware attacks, everybody might have heard of this
Yes.
WannaCry and all these ransomwares where they encrypt your files and they ask you money for decrypting the files. So AV obviously helps you with that, and also if you have a backup. Now, what happens is if you don't pay the ransom, they will not give you your data back. Okay, you will obviously have a
Oh.
loss, but if you have a backup, you can at least operate. Your things can you can change passwords for everything and things like that. At least you'll have data intact with you. So you
Okay.
should always back it up at a secure location like a G drive or a one drive or something like that, a drive. Or if you want to
Okay.
take a hard backup, you can have let's say a 1 TB or basis your requirement hard
Right.
drive which is separate. You can regularly back it up.
Okay.
So that is
So,
third thing. Yep.
so at this juncture, Sid, I have a question for you. That
Sure.
and this question has come to us from the audience, where they are asking us that how safe is it really to save your data in so-called quote unquote cloud?
Right. So let me answer that by giving you an anecdote.
Hmm.
How do you know whether this money that you put in your bank is safe? You look at things about how if it's a nationalized bank, it's a private bank, is it authorized by RBI? I don't know how many of us actually go through the entire pain of where do I open a bank account. But these are things that you should ideally look at
Yeah.
while opening a bank account.
Okay.
Similarly, there are a lot of cloud providers who will give you space for
Okay.
certain premium. But then these you have to select basis uh, the kind of provider. So, for example, Google or Microsoft, they are reputed names and they follow a lot of standard processes.
Hmm.
Similarly, banks which are approved by RBI have to follow certain standards. That's why your money remains safe, right?
Right.
So again, this is not zero risk. Risk will always be there. You cannot eliminate risk
Hmm.
to make it zero. But this is a best calculated risk that you can keep it in a, because there is a limitation on the space. So if you don't have a lot of data, obviously you can go for an external hard drive
Okay.
and keep a copy of that at your home.
All
Like a
right.
lot of us would have certain amount of golden ornaments or some things like that kept in a locker which is fireproof in our house itself.
Hmm.
So depending on how you assess how much of risk that you foresee and what is your risk appetite, you should take a call on that. So there is nothing which is 100% foolproof,
Hmm.
but there are certain systems which are in place which will ensure that security of these cloud service providers is good enough, because there's a lot of
Okay.
governance around it,
Okay. Okay. Answers my
right?
question. Perfect. Yeah.
All right.
Carry on.
So moving on, the fourth thing that I will talk about is on passwords. Now, what we usually do is we keep the same password for everything, from our official applications and tools as well as our personal ones. Okay, because it's in a sense, we as human beings don't want to remember a lot of things, and especially the current generation who is born in the digital age. Okay,
Hmm.
people like me were not born in the digital age would still be able to remember. There were times when we used to remember numbers of every each and every one of our relatives, because we did not have a smartphone to save the numbers in,
Correct.
right? So it was still easy. That's something that has is a drawback of the today's technology. We don't really remember a lot of stuff. Now, for that, there are solutions which you can use. Password lockers like LastPass or Keykeeper. These are a few examples of password lockers where you can save the password in those lockers and just remember one password, which is the password for that locker. Okay.
Okay.
Now that you have to use those special combinations of alphanumeric and special characters, and at least have 8 to 9 characters in that, so that it's strong enough. Because every additional character takes billions of more attempts to solve, and this is I'm talking about a computer program to unlock your passwords,
Hmm.
right? So you need to remember to change your passwords on a regular basis if you don't want to have these vaults where you can save passwords. uh, and the second thing that you need to do on these applications where you have a password, wherever possible, for things like your Facebook and your mail accounts, enable
Right.
two-factor authentication. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the second factor will ensure that even if your password is compromised, people cannot get into it until and unless they know the PIN for uh, that transaction. And it's every transaction is a new PIN.
Okay.
So that's one thing that you have to enable. A lot of people don't do that. Again, because it's time consuming, right? We want everything
Hmm.
fast.
But then,
It's not that.
Sid, so I'm just kind of thinking out loud about this. That this two-factor authentication, is it available on Gmail, Facebook, and all of that as well?
Yes, all of these tools have two-factor authentication. You just have to go to the privacy setting of
Okay.
each of this, and you will
Okay.
find the two-factor. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
And don't use your biometrics as the second factor. Okay.
Hmm.
Although it is secure, but it can be misused, because a lot of our biometrics is used in multiple places like Aadhaar. It is used for certain visa applications. So it could be, if in one of it is breached, everything gets breached.
Hmm, of
Okay.
course. Okay.
So that's the fourth thing that I would suggest people to do, is have strong passwords and regularly change those passwords.
Hmm.
Okay. The fifth thing that I would want to say is, how do you keep yourself safe in this digital world, is by not saying stuff on social media. A lot of people have this habit. That's a problem with the Indian culture as well, to an
Hmm.
extent, that we want to tell the other person, maybe out of curiosity for us to know, or I don't know what that is, but we intend, kind of tell everybody what we are doing. Like when I'm at the airport,
Hmm.
or I'm going somewhere. These are things which can be used against you if I am a hacker. So hackers don't usually rely only on one way of penetrating.
Hmm.
Technically penetrating something is not that easy, right? But if I have, so just let me give you an example. There are two houses, or let's say independent houses. Okay, one has a lock, one does not have a lock.
Okay.
Okay, now if I am a thief, what am I going to do? I'm going to open the door which does not have a lock and not waste my time unlocking the door which has a lock.
Of
The,
course.
the one which is locked also can be opened, right?
Hmm.
Because the risk is not always zero. But then I will not spend a lot of time working on the house which has a lock, because
Of
it's
course.
it's time consuming, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you have to factor in all of that, hackers will get to know about it and they will not waste their time unless and until I want to focus on an individual and attack him,
Okay. But
right?
then,
So,
Sid, just kind of thinking about this, that
mhm.
why would somebody want to hack my account? I'm not Deepika Padukone or Katrina Kaif or someone. Why would someone want
Correct.
to attack me?
There are multiple reasons why somebody would want to attack you, which you probably are not aware of. Obviously,
Okay.
it is a given fact that if you are a celebrity, you are more prone to an attack. Okay,
Hmm.
but if let's say there is some person who got offended by something you said, something you did, you don't know, you did not intend to offend anybody,
Hmm.
but kind of happened. Okay, so those people can take this particular route of attacking you, although you are not uh, like a celebrity. Okay, but
Okay.
still, you might have it. So again, the second thing is that you might not be a celebrity, but you might have assets in terms of properties, in terms of money. It could be anything.
Hmm.
So the motive of an individual or a hacker depends on various situations. People just want to hack you for the fun of it. That I hacked
Wow.
Rosy's account, and I've learned. So let's say I am learning how to hack, and I want
That
to
is
hack somebody.
dangerous. That is so dangerous.
That is dangerous, and that's why we have to keep all these things in place, right?
Hmm.
So that's one important aspect that you look at, uh, of having these passwords and everything's changed
Hmm.
on a regular basis and so on and so forth.
Hmm. Right.
The other thing is on the social media, as we spoke, don't put in stuff which is not needed by anybody to know. Okay? It's a very important privacy principle. You need to know, right?
Hmm.
You
So
give
Sid,
information only. Go ahead.
So, Sid, another question that has come to us from the audience, right
Mhm.
out to you. Since we are part of, so this is quote unquote, since we are part of Gen Z, we believe in sharing our lives on social media. How can you really stop us from doing that? And if at all we really want to share our lives on social media, also, what are those steps that we should be following?
Right. So again, you want to share your account, but you're also finding
Sid,
tension.
there is a slight disconnect in your voice.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, wonderful,
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah. So you invite a lot of attention if you put in a lot of your information on the digital space.
Okay.
I understand you have this urge to display everything on, let's say, Instagram and everything, but you also need to look at what is it that you're displaying.
Hmm.
If you, let's say, if you're a girl, then you're displaying your photos, right? Those can be cropped, morphed, and your identity can be misused.
Hmm.
Same is
Hmm.
the case to the guy as well. Uh,
Correct.
and a lot of these examples exist in today's world where women, especially, have been harassed
Hmm.
or put under ransom by using their images, or morphing their images and posting them on social
Hmm.
media. You can't
Hmm.
really do a lot of things about it. so
Right.
so it's better to keep yourselves protected. uh, so I understand your urge to give information out to people, but only give information which is required by them to know.
Hmm.
Everything and anything that you put can be used against you, so you have
Right.
to be, you know understand that with a pinch of salt, that this is what is going to happen if I completely open myself onto. Now, having said this, if you want only your friends to know it, you can have those settings done in
Of course.
Instagram and Facebook and all that. But
Right.
also, I have few examples where friends or long lost friends have kind of misused the images or pics or used you in the social media,
Okay.
right? So that's also very difficult. See,
Hmm.
not always is it somebody who is trying to attack you, unknown person. It can be a known person also, right?
Right.
And it becomes easy in social media because there is no face around it. So
Correct.
I can put in inflict a lot of damage without you knowing that I am doing it. And
Hmm.
there have been a lot of cases if you look at the recent history, right? So my suggestion is to keep your digital presence as low as possible. And
Okay.
if you want to do it, there are two aspects. One is you have a personal profile which doesn't have any linkages to your financials or the money part of it, so that at least you're financially safe and no none of your confidential information goes out.
Hmm.
uh, you want to find out how safe you are or what is your digital footprint. You can just go to Google and type your name. You will get to know most of the things that is there on the world wide web about you. If you find your image there, then you're at risk. You are not securing yourself enough,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
ideally, if you do not find yourself in the Google search, nothing to be sad about it. If you find yourself, nothing to be happy about it. You're not a celebrity. Okay, it's good
Right.
if you're not able to find yourself on the social media on the Google search page, right? So a lot of settings that has to be done to ensure, because see, stalking. If I'm stalking you in real life, you will be able to know that somebody is following me. In
Right.
digital space, it becomes very difficult. Not all tools tell you who viewed your account, right? And like for example, Facebook does not tell you how many people viewed your account, right?
Correct. And I think even for LinkedIn, for that matter, till the
It
time that you have a premium
The paid
membership,
version, right?
correct, you will not get to know who is really looked into your account.
Exactly. So you should not display things. So sensitive things like your date of birth, your mother, father. A lot of people tend to show their family tree and who
Hmm.
is related to me and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
please think about how I can manipulate all that information and take advantage of that information which you have made public.
Hmm.
Right? So you're the one. So you of security is very important.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay. Hmm.
So that's the sixth thing that I wanted to tell you.
Hmm.
Moving on to the next one is on the public Wi-Fi. A lot of us nowadays get these Wi-Fi systems installed everywhere,
Yeah.
wherever you go, stations, airports, everywhere, and these do not really have a lot of security in them. So a hacker can be sitting on that Wi-Fi router and capturing all the data that's moving in and out of their system. And I can
Okay.
actually, if I am have the right tools, I can actually gain access to your system also. I
Through
can
that Wi-Fi.
install through that Wi-Fi because you connected to the Wi-Fi. Understand the communicating, you are communicating to the Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi
Hmm.
is communicating over to the internet. So there is a
Hmm.
two-way traffic. Okay.
Correct.
So there is data which is going to the router and to the internet, and there is data which is coming from that router back to you. That's how
Hmm.
you're able to browse. Okay.
Right.
So there could be a malware which comes in. So that's very important. You have a AV installed, and if you want to use a free Wi-Fi, I would suggest use a VPN.
Okay.
Okay, which is a virtual private network, so that people are not able to peek into your network. Although it is a public network, I am using a private network, so that the communication is filtered or encrypted.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, and
Okay.
on your personal system, I would suggest to have a Windows, and all these systems, all end system have their own firewalls. So
Okay.
always enable that
Correct.
firewall so that
Correct. Correct.
it filters out the traffic properly.
Sure. Okay.
Right? Uh, So that was about using of Wi-Fi and free stuff. In everything which is free comes with a rider. You either see it or you don't. So nothing is free in life. So be very careful
True.
of when you're using things like that. Um, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is we spoke about social media, we spoke about passwords, we spoke about encryption. Uh, else did I have to speak
So
about?
in fact, Sid, a couple of people have also asked us this question that if we would like to start our career in cybersecurity, what is the
Mhm.
scope that we have, and do you think it is a right choice of career for us?
Okay, so to answer that question, if you are interested in knowing this, this is a very exciting field, and especially in today's times, it's become more exciting because
Hmm.
everything is going digital, right? So this is the right time to jump into the bandwagon, and there's a lot of opportunities. You need to do certain certifications, like basically a certification on ISO 27000, which is the information security standard. You
Hmm.
can do a CE certification, which is
Okay.
ethical hacking certification, basically. And there are a lot of other certifications like uh, CISSP or CISA, depending on what is your interest. It is very similar to there is the information security is a broader spectrum of area which has cyber security in it, which
Okay.
has ethical hacking in it. It has multiple facets like BCP, and all of this fall under the gamut of information security. So depending on your specialization
Hmm.
or your interest, you should go ahead and take up that opportunity. It's a good thing. The one of the in things right now, and it
Wow.
will stay like that for foreseeable future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Knowing that this is the new normal, I think
Right.
this is one job profile which will be hot selling in the market,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So Sid, as you were really talking about sharing a lot of our personal lives on social media and all of that, it actually took me back to an incident which happened up north, where a young woman who had delivered a child, and a very very good looking, pretty young girl and stuff. So it was her first day at school. Now, what this new mom did that was that she kind of, since she was very excited about her child going to school, the first day of my child's school and all of that, she ended up clicking a picture of herself and her daughter right outside her society gate, where her society name was visible at the background. She posted that on Facebook. Not only that, after that, as soon as she sat in the auto and she reached the child's school, right outside the child's school main gate, she clicked another picture and she said, "Hey everyone, please wish my little angel all the luck for starting her life," and blah 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 and all of that. Very very emotional conversation that she kind of plugged in there, and that's where the reader could actually see the name of the school as well. And apparently what happened was, and this was all in the news, apparently what happened was that after around 2 hours, when the plague group was supposed to be dispersed for home, when the mother reached exactly on time, the guard actually mentioned that, "मैम, आपकी बेटी को तो ले गए हैं, उनके रिश्तेदार आए थे लेने को." And that's when the lady freaked out and she said that, "I am staying here with my husband. We don't have any relatives here. तो मेरे बच्चे को कौन सा रिश्तेदार आके पिकअप करके लेके गया?" Now,
Right.
so and this was a very very scary incident. And then apparently, of course, she had to kind of log in and FIR, and all of that hassle is what this poor woman had to go through. But apparently, and eventually it was found out that somebody had been stalking her from the time she had started putting her daughter's pictures on Facebook, from the time her child was born. So I mean, it was so scary to even think about the fact that somebody has been stalking you for 2 years, because nowadays after 2.5 years they normally kind of enroll you into play school. um, at times, even if you're a year and a half, they enroll you into play school. So this hacker or this person actually stalked this woman for 2 years. I mean, such a long time. And he actually was so patient to give her this one jhatka, this one jolt, that she could never forget for her life. Of course, at the end of it, her daughter came back home safe and sound, thanks to the Delhi police. But this is an incident which is there. So, hello, Sid, there is a disconnect in your voice.
Is it better now?
Yes, perfect. Please
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
that's the reality in today's time. When these kind of things happen, as we spoke, even known people can do that.
Yes.
Uh, there have been instances where I have seen uh, friends taking advantage of other friends like this. So being anonymous. So it is very important to protect yourself in this digital world because once you post something, it is always going to be there. Even if you have, say, posted a pic. So now we're talking about a child. We talk about any individual.
Hmm.
That will always remain in the web throughout
Even if you
somebody
delete
or
it?
somewhere. Even if you delete it, depending on the policy that is used by that particular provider. Like if you
Okay.
know Facebook got hacked. Right? So as I told you, you back up with a known provider. Also, there are still risks as you mentioned. Is it safe?
Right.
It is not 100% safe anywhere. But then
Okay.
they also reputed companies also get hacked. Right? So
Hmm.
that's why it is imperative of what you take a conscious and understood decision on what you want to post online.
Sure.
It's always advisable to not put stuff online,
Of course.
right?
Of
And
course.
have perimeter security around every layer so that even if something is compromised, you cannot really it does not display everything out.
Hmm.
Have multiple layers, so that's why two-factor authentication is very important.
Okay. Sure. Sure.
Right. So that is pretty much to answer the third question that you had asked. How do I
Yes.
protect myself? Okay. If there are any other additional questions, I'll be answer them.
I
Now
think
moving on to the first two questions of how do I know I'm hacked?
yes.
Okay. Very interesting question. Little bit of technical things are required here. So once you have followed all the things that I spoke about, chances of you getting compromised are pretty less. I wouldn't say
Okay.
zero, but less. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, even after that, there's something called as a social engineering or a phishing attack, through which I can actually uh, get access to your information. So it's always important to first not give out information. That could be a link which goes on in WhatsApp groups. You get things that I've seen as 999 for iPhone. You will not get anything for 990. So don't get on that excited and click on a link which either downloads something or asks some information. That's the first step.
Hmm.
So you ensure do not click on links which are not known. If somebody is sending you a link, please call them and verify.
Okay.
Okay. Second thing is if say for example your system is actually being compromised, somebody is has hacked into your system. Okay. First few
Hmm.
indicators of somebody is hacking into your system is the system will become really very slow.
Okay.
Okay, that's the first indicator. So when your system is very slow, you need to ensure you disconnect the system from the internet so that the connection goes away. See,
Okay.
understand whenever you connect to the internet is when the data will flow to that individual. So
Hmm.
first thing is you disconnect the internet. You run a scan and hoping that you have a paid version of that antivirus that we spoke about. You do
Right.
a scan and find out if there is any kind of malware or any kind of virus in that. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Second is monitor your internet data usage.
Okay.
If you feel that there has been a lot of data usage, which I have actually not done, that's
Hmm.
another indicator. Because if you are not using a particular app, it will not use a lot of data. It will only use a very small amount of data just to keep itself updated. So if
Okay.
there is an excessive use of data, then you should be aware of that there is something wrong. You
Hmm.
might want to format your system. Now, formatting means that your data will get lost. So that's why backup comes into play. That you should be having a proper backup, as we spoke about in the first question.
Right.
Right? The third thing is now we talk about phones. Smartphones also can get hacked. So there are certain codes in Android, similarly in iOS as well, which you can run like star hash 21 star hash, and then you can just quickly Google it and you find it out. That will kind of display if your information, your calls are getting recorded. It will tell you if your call is getting forwarded somewhere
Oh,
which you are not aware of. It will tell you
wow.
if your information, data that is going out. So there are a lot of these codes. Obviously, I don't have it by heart. I don't hack into people, so I don't
Of course.
really. But then there is a list of things. It's very easily available on the web. You can look at these codes, Android codes, uh, by which you can check if your system is being compromised or not.
Okay.
Right. So these are a few things that you can do, and if you know that or if you suspect that your system is compromised, nothing to worry about. Whatever has happened can also be stopped. First is, as I said, disconnect the internet.
Correct.
Right. Second is, run the scan, find
Hmm.
out if there is something wrong or not. Go to each application and find out the data usage. So if you go into apps in Android, at least go to the apps, and you'll get to know what is the amount of data that this particular app has used in the last 1 month. Okay, and if you have not used a lot of that app, then you will know that your usage is going to be less.
Hmm. Correct.
And you can have these data in the calculators which are available in Android especially, which will limit the internet usage. If
Okay.
you're not going to use more than 2 GB of data, then you
Hmm.
can put that limiter. So once you get that limiter, it will give you an alert which will let you know that your data usage has become more than normal. So that's also another indicator of knowing whether your data is compromised,
Okay.
right? And then the first thing is keep on patching your phone so that the compromise does not happen, and keeping the AV updated. So these are the basic things. If you know that it is compromised, you have these codes which you can input, and it will, like it enables, it can also disable data transfer.
Okay. Okay. Because these are things which are absolutely doable, and I think these are things which are totally in our hands,
Right.
right?
And there is the third aspect of the social engineering one, where
Hmm.
people will use your sense of urgency or create a sense of urgency,
Right.
and take advantage of that situation by
Hmm.
saying that basic calls that used to come up till recently was that your bank account is going to be locked
Hmm.
unless you give me this information, or else it will get locked. Right. So a lot of people tend to give out that information because they might have some amount which they want to withdraw in a couple of days, maybe for a marriage or some of important functions, and
Right.
they don't want that to happen. So just a shout out to everybody that the banks do not lock your account like that. If there is some reason, you will have to visit the bank. They will first call you to the bank to
Okay.
you know do or tell you whatever is the issue. They don't really block your account,
Okay.
right? So
That's an
nothing
interesting
to
journey.
worry from. Nothing to worry from that aspect. Banks don't ask you for information or sensitive information over the phone. That's a very important thing. Government of India is also making a lot of advertisements about that they don't ask you for your Aadhaar or your bank account or your PIN or CVV and all that. So you
Hmm.
have to be very careful around that, so that
Okay.
you don't compromise. Although you're putting a lot of thought in protecting your laptops and smartphones and using all these passwords backup and all that, still you can be compromised by your social engineering. So you have to be very careful from that angle as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Right? A lot of people, especially the older generation, has the habit. Say, for example, I am going out of India. They will call everybody and tell them, "Hey, मेरा बेटा बाहर जा रहा है." That's again a problem. They are doing out of a sense of pride that their sons or daughters have done something in life and moving on to the second phase of life or something like that. It
Hmm.
could be any reason, but then that can be uh, you know uh, utilized by these people with malicious intent.
Hmm. These definitely sound scary, Siddharth. But I think again, a lot of it is really in our hands. How is it that we kind of control the data that's going out, control the information that we are sharing with the entire world? And if
Right.
we can bring some kind of a discipline and some kind of a filtration into what we share, with who we share, who do we trust,
Right.
should we share, should we not share, all of that. So, of course, we understand the fact that you're very excited that you're kind of going to sit in an aircraft for the first time in your life, and hence you want to publish it out to the whole world. But also, Sid, what we've seen is that a lot of people take a picture of their boarding passes and they kind of share it out on social media. And
Right.
of course, I know it can be very dangerous, but it'll be great if you can talk and elaborate a little about why is it that sharing a copy of your boarding pass on social media can be dangerous, very dangerous for
Yeah.
you.
See, first of all,
Sid, there is a slight disconnect again.
yeah, okay. Can you hear
Yes,
me now?
wonderful.
Right. So the first thing that is that something which a human eye can read is where you're going, where are you located, which is your seat number and stuff like that. But every boarding pass will have a barcode which is
Right,
scanned at the
correct.
entry gate, right? Which has information about you. Where have you made that booking? What is the which credit card or debit card or what is your mode of payment? Where what is your address from which you booked it? All that information is available on that barcode. So I can
Okay,
use normal scanner and scan that and get that information. So a lot of
right.
that can be easily, compromise or give out a lot of your personal information. When you put
Hmm.
in your date of birth, your name, the entire name, date of birth, address, and everything is available in that. So
Wow,
that's why
just
it's very
just
important.
that one barcode, and if that one barcode is out on social media, it can kind of, if it falls in the wrong hands, it can destroy your life completely,
Exactly.
right?
It has the potential to do all of it.
That is something which is very scary. So
Right.
I have known of some people also who have kind of done that in my own circle, and that's
Mhm.
when I have actually immediately called them back and said that, hey, you know what, if you really want to put in your flight ticket out there, your boarding pass out there, at least crop out the barcode.
Exactly.
At least you have taken care of some kind of security
Some
there.
amount of security,
Some
yes.
amount of security is what you've taken care of. So then when I actually tell them that, you know what, this is the reason, and that's when they freak out. They're like, my god, really? That is so scary.
Yeah. So that's very important for. And one on a parting note, what I would want to, or rather summarize it, is if you want to protect yourself, you need to understand how a hacker thinks,
Hmm.
right? And it's not that difficult. Uh,
Yeah, okay.
all you need to do is you put yourself in the hacker's shoe and see yourself from a third party standpoint as to what is the information that I'm putting out there and how can I manipulate that information to gain access to this individual's personal information. That way, your life becomes easy and doing an assessment before you're signing up to something new in the digital platform. Right?
Hmm.
So a lot of people don't read the disclaimers which are there on the software
Of
when
course.
they install because it's too
Right.
lengthy. That's
Yeah.
advisable to do. A lot of people do not look at their privacy policies because in the privacy policy they tell you how they use your data. It is used for marketing. A lot of people, there was a very hilarious incident that happened with IRCTC where somebody
Mm-hmm.
had, uh, raised a complaint to IITCTC that there is a lot of porn content or porn advertisements which came up in their website, right?
Okay.
So IICTC came back to them saying it is based on your browsing habits. So your advertisements, basically, let's say for example, you can do this test. You search for a property, and after that you log into Facebook. You will see that there are listings of the same
Oh,
property which comes up. Why? Because there is something called as cache memory that stays, and they use this, and this is the part of their privacy statement that this is going to be used for advertisements or making your future searches simple. The intent is not
okay.
bad, but it gives out a lot of information. That means that the information is floating around. What is it that you're searching? Is there available on the web?
Hmm.
So they use these big companies like Facebook and Google and all these use this information as to where you went. A lot of people put in, the location or
Yeah.
your geotagging and all that. So
Right.
all of this can be used. They use it even if you disable geotagging, it is still possible for them to know where you have been and where you are currently. So that is something which is very scary, and we need to take a note of that and ensure they enable the strictest possible security in those tools that they use. So again, you will only realize that when you put yourself in the other person's shoe. Of if I want to attack myself, what are the areas that I have kept myself vulnerable to?
Correct.
Right? So that's the reverse engineering of the entire security aspect, which you can effectively do and protect yourself to the greatest possible extent. But
Right.
again, it is not possible to have 100% security unless and until you don't have a digital presence at all. The safest person today is somebody who does not have a smartphone, who does not have an email account, who does not have a
And
bank account.
in fact, a person like this actually does not
Does
exist
not exist, right?
anywhere. Right.
Exactly. So if you are that person, then you don't have anything to worry.
Huh.
But we cannot be those people because in today's world, if you have to survive, you have to have embrace this technology. The technology
Absolutely.
is good; it makes life easier, but it also puts you under risk. If you understand the risk and mitigate it, then life is not that difficult.
Correct. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of these insights with us, Siddharth. It,
Pleasure.
of course, whatever you have spoken of today, no doubt these are very, very scary things to happen to us. And of course, this is my urge to all our listeners that the intent is not to scare you down, but the intent is to make you more cautious. The intent is to make you wary about what you share on social media, with who you share it on social media, and to what extent can that bring damage and devastation, and for that matter catastrophe, to you and in and to people in your lives. So last but not least, I would just like to convey my thank you to everybody who's listening to Siddharth Iyer and Rosy Bansal. On behalf of both of us, we really appreciate the time that you've taken to listen to the entire program on you in security. Siddharth, thank you so much for your time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye and stay safe.
Yep.